California dreaming, 30 teams in the NFL. All of them are. 32 teams in the NFL. Good Lord. It's going to be a wild ride. My computer decided to run an update on us at 5:30 on the nose. So we're a little late to the party here. It's a personal foul on the guy whose face is on the logo. But either way, this is where we're at, and here we go. The NFC West is our tackle for the night, and we're going to do our best to run you through a division that, as I said, is always usually pretty competitive top to bottom, but especially at the top. Now we've got questions that we need answers for, and that's why we're here. Is the window closed in San Francisco? Can an elite defense get the Rams back to a Super Bowl in the state of California? And what to make of the Birds? But of course, I'm not going to do it by myself. My merry band of knuckleheads with me, the guy in the middle today, TJ. See, we're all over the place today. Vegas Mac. Got a new view, as I said. We're going through all kinds of changes in sceneries, as you can see. I promised shelves last week that I did not hang myself. My fiance had to do them because I and Power Tools do not have a good relationship. Tony James in the middle. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm here. My computer did not do an update, but my brain does need an update.
You're just here so you don't get fined. Vegas Mac on the right side of the screen today. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing well. I just want to let you know there's no ash falling from the sky today, so it's already a better day.
Very, very nice. Also, hey, programming note for you. Mac is going to have a big, big announcement on his video on Thursday for you. So that's going to be something you're going to want to pay attention to. Also, we're going to do a lunch hour on Friday. Vegas Mac and myself, Friday, 11:30 on the left coast in its customary spot, as it will stay during the football season. We'll get to that a little bit later. But guys, the NFC West, it's always a fun one. It's usually a bruising division, and it can be bruising physically. It can be bruising emotionally. Maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not. It's always one of the more entertaining divisions, regardless, in the NFL. Last year, we saw the Rams edge out the Seahawks at 10-7, the Cardinals 8-9, and the atrocity that was the 49ers last year at 6-11. And so far, it looks like the division, easy for you to say, is pretty healthy, at least at this point, outside of if you're a wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, and we'll get there. But first thoughts on the NFC West. First thing that jumps to mind in the 2025 edition of the NFC West for you, TJ.
I think this division is a lot closer than a lot of people think. I know that the Niners had a rough year last year because you couldn't keep a team together on the field. No fault of their own. It happens to everybody. So I know we're definitely expecting a resurgence from them. But this team is a lot closer top to bottom than I think many people want to give it credit, even though it seems like it's going to be a two-dog race. I like what's in this division a lot.
Yeah, very much so. Matt, first thoughts on the NFC West when it jumps off the page to you in the 2025 edition of the NFC West.
You know, we just got done watching the Billy Joel documentary, both parts of it. So I'm going to steal from Billy Joel. For me, the NFC West, it's a matter of trust. And there's a lot of teams like I don't trust. There's players I don't trust. There's a lot of injuries I don't trust. It's a matter of trust, baby.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, you know, and well, I'll use the Niners for a perfect example here. I mean, we're one of the more injured teams in the NFL, especially over the last couple of years. And you can say, well, every team deals with injuries. You're right. But in the 49ers case, they've been able to deal with injuries and make it deep in the season. They've been able to deal with injuries. And then here's what we know with the Niners. They're either going to the NFC title game or the Super Bowl, or they're going to finish dead last in the division. I mean, that's kind of how they've been under Kyle Shanahan's tutelage the whole time. But I do kind of agree with both of you there. It's who can you trust? And I think this division is a lot closer than a lot of people are going to make it out to be. And as we get into these position groups and everything tonight, guys, I think I'm very interested to see what our individual thoughts are when we get to certain aspects. Yes, There's going to be position groups that are probably more in favor of the Niners and the Rams here, but I think when you look at the whole, especially with like the Seahawks and some of the personnel that the Cardinals have, I do think they're a lot closer together. As always in any division, there's always newcomers that kind of pique our interest. And there's some interesting names that have moved their way out west or returned to their way out west. And let's go around the room here. We'll go one and then keep rotating through. For me, the number one guy in the division as far as a newcomer that I've got my eyes on is Sam Darnold. And that's because he is now Mike McDonald's quarterback in Seattle. And those of you that have been following our show from our start, you know, and you heard it last year, I'm a big fan of Mike McDonald and what he's building there in Seattle, but there needed to be some turnover. There needed to be some guys moved out and some guys brought in, and Seattle did a lot of that work this offseason. What do we know about Sam Darnold? Well, he had a great year in Minnesota. He was Brock Purdy's backup. You know, he's had quite a career already in the NFL, and I think obviously a lot of Seattle's success is going to relate to which Sam Darnold they got. I think he's a guy, it looks like he's going to be very comfortable up there, but I'm very interested to see how that Seahawks offense with a new offensive coordinator also, and Sam Darnold in there, really decides to kind of change itself up this year. TJ, give me a newcomer that you've got your eyes on in the NFC West you're interested to see.
Well, for me, Mike, it's Devontae Adams at the Rams. The Rams seemingly they decided that Cooper Kupp was no longer part of their equation, and they're retooling their receiving core around Puka Nacua and now Devontae Adams along with Tutu Atwell. So, but I think this is going into his age 33 season. This is the last ride for him. You know, he went to Vegas, it didn't work out. He went to New York, it didn't work out again, and now it's time. You know, you wanted to get out of Green Bay. You wanted to show that you could still be the man, and now this is it. You have to be the man, or you're not going to be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, give me one of your newcomers that's kind of piquing your attention out west.
I'm going to go to the Rams, and I'm going to say Jimmy Garoppolo is a person that all of a sudden I think is very interesting, because we don't know about Matthew Stafford. We don't know how healthy he is. We don't know if he's going to start this year. If he doesn't start, Jimmy Garoppolo is there, and that now it's a Rams team that I think you talked about a 49ers and a window closing. You know, I think for the Rams, I don't know if you could put your hand underneath the window because I think it's closed so much. So I think he could be a very instrumental figure, because let's be honest, I think at some point he's going to play a bulk of games for the Rams, whether it's at the beginning of the year or the middle. I think he's going to be crucial.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people that didn't think the Rams were going to bring back Garoppolo for a second stint backing up Stafford, but I think you said something that is massively important there is now Garoppolo's been with the Rams for 2 seasons. He knows McVay's playbook, obviously probably had a decent handle on it because of the familiarity between McVay and Shanahan and how they both came up. So I thought that was a very smart move, if you will. You know, and Garoppolo is such a polarizing figure to begin with. 5 yards shorter, man, and they win a Super Bowl. 5 yards freaking shorter. All right, I'm not going to go down that road. But I will go back to the 49ers here, and my second newcomer, who is a returnee to this division, and I think probably the most significant move that was made in the NFC West, and that's Robert Saleh back to San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco's defense was never better than when they had Robert Saleh. And you can say what you want about his head coaching tenure in New York with the Jets, but I mean, you can just see it. And again, we talk about what little things you can gather in preseason, and everybody wants to show all these highlights. And, you know, Brock Purdy got picked off on his first 3 passes, and the Browns, the station in Cleveland that's doing the chart of the Browns quarterback passes in camp. But you can see a lot of other things that are important. We just saw everybody play their first preseason game. Some really interesting stuff last weekend. What you can see when you see videos from 49ers camp is you can see how relaxed Kyle Shanahan looks, how relaxed John Lynch looks, how much fun Robert Saleh is having again. And I think one of the biggest things that the Niners missed, and this is not a knock on DeMeco Ryans whatsoever. He did a fantastic job. It was after DeMeco Ryans where the Niners really kind of lost their way as far as defensive coordinators go. Robert Saleh's intensity is what really, really, I think, makes that 49ers defense what they were. And we're going to get to a little bit more of this later, and I've got some very specific thoughts when it comes to this. But I think Robert Saleh being back in the division, a guy like Sean McVay's going, son of a bitch, man, I thought he was gone. I thought I was done with this guy, and here he is. So I think that's, for me, it's the most significant move in the entire NFC West. Feel free to comment along if you're watching along, if you're a fan of an NFC West team. Let us know what you think going into this season. Follow us on all of our social channels, at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat. T, before you give me your next newcomer that you have your eyes on in the division, why are we not on Snapchat for the folks joining us for the first time?
For all of you who are new to this, we're not on Snapchat because Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
Very good. Give me your second newcomer you got your eyes on out west.
It's Andre Dillard of the Niners. Like we've seen with Trent Williams, like last year, he's one of the guys who couldn't stay healthy, and he's going to be like, you've got to protect Brock. That you have to. He's too young and he's too valuable of an asset for him to miss a lot of games. This team I don't think is going to go anywhere without QB1 in there. So any upgrade, plus Trent Williams, he's 36 now, 37. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He's got to transition his way from being the man on the offensive line to the coach on the offensive line and coaching up the rest of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac, give me your last newcomer that you got your eyes on out west.
Okay, I'm taking a blanket on this one, and what I mean by that is I'm going wide and deep. I'm going to say it's every single one of the draft picks that the Arizona Cardinals made on defense and every single free agent they brought in on defense. Because, listen, if that Arizona Cardinals defense doesn't figure it out and gets better, and I think they will, they're in for a long, long season. So I'm putting a blanket on every single one of them. They all got to be better.
Yeah, I think that's, again, we're and I'm going to hold on to one of my comments on the Cardinals here for a little bit, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Jordan Birch, I mean, Cody Simon, Denzel Burke. I mean, 5 of their 6 draft picks are all on the defensive side of the ball, and then you add Josh Sweat. It's Calais Campbell's back. I think, when you just mentioned, kind of Trent Williams being a coach. I mean, Calais Campbell's back not because of his production per se, which he can still produce, and we've seen that, but it's more of just his veteran leadership there on a group that desperately needs it. Let's look at it position by position, guys, and let's start with the signal callers, because that's in the NFL where your bread is buttered. And if you're catching our previews here for the first time, we're not just talking about your starting quarterbacks. We're looking at the whole picture here, and as we've seen, and Mac had a couple of videos where he talked about this specifically last year, we've seen the evolution of the importance of the backup quarterback in the NFL and how important that is. So we're not just talking about the starters here. We're talking about the collection of quarterbacks as a whole. So when I rank the quarterbacks in this division, it's to me, it's a 2-tier system here. You've got Brock Purdy and Matt Stafford. That's your tier 1A and 1B. Your tier 2 for me, because of question marks, is Seattle and Arizona. And for me, when I look at Seattle's situation, again, we need to probably figure out exactly which Sam Darnold is there, because we've seen a bunch of different versions of him. And when you look at that situation for Seattle, I mean, they brought in Jalen Milroe. They brought back Drew Lock. So I think they've got some good balance there. Jalen Milroe, say whatever you want about a preseason game, looked pretty good the other night in his first NFL experience, and I think there's a lot of upside there. For the Cardinals, and this is my thing with the Cardinals, and I don't think that this is going to be shocking to anybody. I do like that they brought in Jacoby Brissett. I think that is huge just for Kyler Murray in general. But I do not think the Arizona Cardinals are ever going to win anything of any significance with Kyler Murray under center. The problem is they're tied into that contract in a bad way. And we've seen contracts get moved that are bad. But we're talking about a guy who's only been in the playoffs one time. He got blasted in that game. 40, I think his QBR was 40 in that game they lost to the Rams. He's under 500 for his career. And I get it. All those of you out there that are going to come at me with wins aren't a quarterback stat. You're right. But I don't see how the Cardinals win anything significant with Kyler Murray. I mean, he's had plenty of time. He's had obviously a bunch of different systems, and I just don't see this team getting over the hump. And I don't know if they don't this year, if he's going to be back next year. T, rank the quarterbacks in the West.
Well, you pretty much took my rankings. I would call Arizona and Seattle a toss-up at the bottom just because of the whole Sam Darnold. Was it the system? Was it his team? What was it factor? I mean, that Minnesota team was outstanding. And then they went to the playoffs and got waxed. I mean, it was kind of embarrassing. But yeah, Purdy and Stafford, I think, are the class of the starters. As far as Kyler goes, I'm with you. I don't trust this guy as far as I can throw him. And if on a good day, I could probably get him about 5 yards because he's so inconsistent. Like sometimes he looks fantastic and he comes up with these, he turns a 10-yard loss into a 10-yard gain. And then sometimes he's just like got off, like that intercept. I know it's preseason, but the interception the other night was inexcusable for a 6-year veteran. Inexcusable.
Yeah, it was the rollout to the flat, and he threw it dead to the defender. Like, it was right to the defender, almost like they drew it up to be thrown to the defender. Mac, rank the quarterbacks in the West.
I think without a doubt for me, it's the Los Angeles Rams as a group. I mean, Stafford, Garoppolo, and Bennett. I mean, I think that's a pretty good group. I mean, you can say what you want about Garoppolo. He's still a good backup. Here I get a little conflicted because I think Seattle's got a pretty good grouping, but again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. It's a matter of trust. We don't know about Donald, and I'll say the same thing about San Francisco. I like Brock Purdy as a quarterback, but if something were to happen to him, what do you got to back him up? Mac Jones?
Mac Jones, baby.
Yeah, exactly. See what I'm. It's the Rams by a touchdown easily over the rest of these. I think I would put San Francisco second. I would put Arizona third because even though I don't maybe trust Kyler Murray so much, I know what he can do. I think he's ready for a big year. I got a feeling about him. I got a feeling he's ready for a big year, and I just need to see Sam Darnold. That Seattle one. Seattle could actually, if we did this at the end of the year, Seattle could end up being my first pick instead of the Rams. So we'll have to. That's just a kind of a wait and see for me.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment of it. How dare you speak ill of Mac Jones? What is wrong with you? Let's look at the wide receivers and the tight ends. This is I think where we start to get a little bit of separation, if you will, in this division. And for me. And this is probably going to surprise you guys, I think. I've got L.A. and their group of receivers there with Nakua, Adams, Atwell. Jordan Whittington's another guy I really, really like. Tyler Higbee, I think, is a very underrated tight end. And then I've got Seattle second. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is about to break out and be a superstar. Cooper Kupp, even if they get 75% of Cooper Kupp's production, very, very good. And A.J. Barner, their young tight end, I think, is another guy who's very up and coming in the division. I would put the 49ers next for me, and here's why. Number one, you've got Brandon Ayuk now allegedly is going to kind of be out to week 6 is kind of the target date there. So you're dealing with that. Jawan Jennings has a calf injury amongst also needing and wanting a new contract. So you're left with a lot of question marks here. Ricky Pearsall going through his first full training camp here because he was shot last year. George Kittle, for my money, best tight end in the NFL. Not just because of what he does when he catches the ball. He is an elite blocker. If you haven't seen Receiver from last year and you don't know a whole lot about George Kittle, watch that show because you're going to understand a whole lot more about how George Kittle's wired, and it's a dangerous game to play to try and get inside that guy's head. And then I've got the Cardinals. And again, with the Niners, I think you got to wait and see there because Ayuk's coming off of a pretty nasty injury, and the calf has me very concerned with Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings was a stupid ejection and not on his part, by the referee last year in the last game of the season from being a 1,000-yard receiver for them. Cardinals, obviously, you can look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson. Go, it's a pretty good combination. Zay Jones, if they get anything about him. Trey McBride, I don't have to say what I've said about Trey McBride in the past, but I think that, again, it's my hesitation with where I rank the Cardinals is more on Kyler Murray than it is their playmakers in those positions. So I think San Francisco is a wait and see, but where do you have the wide receivers and tight ends, T? And I know I skipped the running backs. We'll get back to those.
See, I have San Francisco a little bit higher because of George Kittle. I think that guy is so good and so versatile for the Niners. I am concerned about what we're going to get out of Ayuk and Jennings. I know, we'll see there. I love Pearsall, though. That guy he is going to be a playmaker. And I like the acquisition. I like DeMarcus Robinson, that pickup.
Yes.
I thought that was a very good move. The Rams, the reason why I'm not so high on the Rams has to do with basically they're throwing all the eggs, it seems like, into the Puka Nacua basket right now. And I'm not sure, for a guy who only played 11 games last year, if he's ready for that. He had a great rookie season, and he was on pace for a great season last year, but I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. Seattle, I've got Seattle 4th out of 4, and it's only because I'm not sure what we're going to get. I love, and this may surprise you, Mike, but I love that they picked up Torrey Horton. I think he might slot in there right at the beginning of the season for the Seahawks. I like Jackson as well. I'm not sure what they're going to get out of Kupp. And then I've got the Cardinals 3rd. I love the youth on this Cardinal receiving core.
Mac, wide receivers and tight ends out west.
You have to love the 49ers. I mean, I know there's injuries, but we're not going to worry about the injuries. I mean, if you start with McCaffrey and you go with Kittle, you've got, one of the best tight ends in the league. You got one of the best receiving running backs in the league. And so, right off the bat, I mean, they have to be number one. And, you're going to fill in with whatever, with Jennings and Pierce. So, I mean, without a doubt, that group is far and away, I think, the absolute best there. And then I like the Rams, believe it or not. And they're going to be the second team. I mean, Puka did a great job. I think Devontae Adams being there. I think, TJ, what you said at the beginning, Devontae's, been around. He's been on the Aaron Rodgers train, and now he's off on that. I think he's going to be a good veteran for that team. And someone like Stafford, that's exactly what he wants. He wants a veteran like that he can kind of count on when he needs that big play. I think, again, a little skepticism with the Cardinals, but I really like it. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a breakout year. I really do. It's coming. I mean, this guy is too good. Let's be honest. He's too good. He could honestly be one of the best receivers in the league. He really can. And Trey McBride, again, I love tight ends. Of course, that surprised you. A Steelers fan who loves tight ends, right? I think that's a really, really good grouping for the Cardinals. Seattle, I mean, we not Seattle, but I mean Seattle. I mean, they just kind of regrouped. I mean, so we don't know. So there's some question marks there with Seattle. They got rid of Metcalf and everybody else. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I like the 49ers as number one, but I could honestly tell you, again, I'll say the same thing like I said about the running backs. I mean, I think that Cardinals could be number one at the end of the year. They could be that good.
Yeah, and again, the giant wild card there is the play of Kyler Murray. So I don't think you're saying anything there that's off base or would be not something that a lot of people would be thinking. All right, let's go backwards, since I can't read my own damn writing, to the running backs now. For me, easily, it's San Francisco. And there are some question marks here. Isaac Guerrero, he's dealing with some stuff. Jordan James broke his finger. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Patrick Taylor has been really, really good for them over the last year and a half or so. the Jordan James thing, I think, is very fascinating to me, and what Kyle Shanahan can do in that offense with Jordan James, how fast he is, and for his size, he is a guy, again, a prototypical 49er running back. He's going to try and run through you, over you. He can run past you. He can run around you. So interested to see what happens to him when he comes back. And I think, and we don't talk about this because not many teams have one, but I think another huge X factor for the 49ers is the fact that they have Kyle Juszczyk in that backfield as well, who does a lot of things for them. And again, the fullback position is kind of dead in the NFL, but the Niners are a team that has the best one, and they use him very effectively. So when I look at the rest of the division, I really love Seattle's group of running backs. Like, just absolutely love them. Between Walker and Charbonnet, George Holani looked great the other night against the Raiders. Again, it's preseason, I know that. And then Damian Martinez, formerly of Oregon State last year at the U with Cam Ward, I think is an interesting one there. I'd put the Rams third. I'm not, like, Kyren Williams is highly effective. I'm not trying to say he's not, but, like, I don't know if I'm as high on him as everybody else is. And then, when you look at the rest of that group between Blake Corum, Jarquez Hunter, Ronnie Rivers, and then I've got the Cardinals last. And the reason I have the Cardinals last is because I don't know what the running back position, we've talked about this with every division we've talked about, guys. The running back position is very, very demanding. And James Conner is the human battle axe. And I wonder how much more pounding James Conner can take. Trey Benson looked okay last year, as did Amari DiMercato. DJ Dallas is more of a specialist. So when I'm looking at the groupings as a whole, for me, it's the 49ers clearly with an advantage. And then Seattle, I think, clearly has an advantage over LAT.
Well, yeah, I think McCaffrey's the best of the class of the division, but this is me drinking the Kyren Williams Kool-Aid here. I think this guy is I think he's a star. This is going to be an important year for him if Stafford is out for any extended period of time. This is going to be an important for Kyren Williams. I like Blake Corum as well. I think he's a great second guy for the Rams. Seattle. This is where I think that this division and the talent in this division is a lot closer than people think, because Seattle's running backs are fantastic too. Kenneth Walker's had a great season last year. I'm going to bring him up a little bit later, so I'll keep that in my back pocket. And then the Cardinals, I do also have the Cardinals fourth because of exactly what you said, Mike. The depth here with the Cardinals, we know what James Conner can do. He is outstanding for this team. But it seems like with the Cardinals, if one guy gets injured at a key position, then the whole thing's going to go in the toilet. And I think that it's especially true for James Conner and the running backs.
Yeah. Mac?
Man, I think we have our first major disagreement, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely
About
love...
damn time.
I know. I absolutely love the Seahawks. I think with Kubiak as the offensive coordinator, I think they want to take a little bit of pressure off of Donald. This Seahawks running back pool is deep. I think they're going to look to pound the ball. I think this is going to be one of the teams that's going to establish the run and then, again, to take some pressure off of Donald. So I absolutely love Seattle. I'm going to go with Arizona second. James Conner, I looked up his stats from last year. Absolutely amazing. 128 missed tackles when he's running. I know he's a workhorse, but listen, I think, again, Arizona, sneaky good, going to be good this year. I think they're going to be a little bit better. I think having Harrison out there is going to open things up for him. I think it's going to be a little bit better. He might not have to have so many missed tackles. And then I'm going to put the 49ers third. Yeah, McCaffrey is good, probably out of all of them, the best of the bunch, but we also have to talk about the bunch. And I don't think his bunch is as good as the rest of the bunches. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to put the Rams fourth.
All right, let's go to
unfortunately, because, I'm I like the Rams. They're one of my favorite teams. I like the Rams. They're okay.
I don't know how you and I are friends after making a statement like that. All right, let's look at the offensive lines here, which I think is a position group we're going to have some massive disagreements on. For me, it's LA, Arizona, Seattle, and San Francisco. And I'll work my way backwards before forwards. I think the 49ers are in grave danger of the offensive line and the lack of depth on the offensive line being the thing that keeps them from finally completing the quest for 6. It seems like it's been going on for most of my life, especially my adult life, because it has been going on for most of my adult life, because they got them all when I was a young shit talker, not an older, slower, fatter shit talker. But the Niners offensive line, the depth here scares the living daylights out of me. Dominic Pooney was fantastic last year for them, a great find. Colton McKivitz, if I had hair, he would be the reason that I don't have most of my hair. And then Jake Brendel would be the other reason that I don't have most of my hair. Obviously, Trent Williams is one of the best to ever do it, and Spencer Burford is the guy behind him, despite what pictures get shown on Sunday Night Football. If you know, you know. The depth of the 49ers offensive line terrifies me. The depth of the Rams offensive line would really excite me if I was a Rams fan, but I don't know why anybody would want to do that to themselves. But between Avila, Shelton, Dotson, and Rob Havenstein, and if Havenstein can stay healthy, it goes a long way, and that'd be my only question there on the line for them. Arizona, I really do like the depth of their offensive line with Paris Johnson, Kelvin Beachum, Brown, Froholt, Adams, and Williams. I think that's a really good group there. Seattle, this has been kind of their Achilles heel, and can these guys stay healthy? I know they're expecting a lot out of Gray Zabel, their rookie, and it looks like he's going to be the real deal. But again, we got to get into regular season games before we can get that. But yeah, I would go L.A., Arizona, Seattle, and San Francisco. T. How about the big guys up front?
Surprisingly, I'm right there with you, except I have Seattle and Arizona switched. I agree with Max. Seattle's going to pound this ball. This is a huge year for them. This is like the offense has just been redesigned with their personnel, and they're going to need to stay healthy. I'd love, not that I'm a Rams guy, but Kyron Williams has excelled because of this offensive line, and so I'm expecting more big things out of them. The Cardinals, the depth, like you said, the depth is unreal, and on the other side, the Niners, it's the lack. So, yeah, this is one of those things again where the talent is closer than we think, and it's more spread around than we think, and it's not necessarily in the order that we think.
Pseudo Los Angeles Rams fan, Vegas Mac. How do you have the offensive lines in the division?
I think we have 3 teams that have. I'll give them a grade of C. They're average, and that's all that they are. I
thought
think
he was going to say crap based on his waste management analogy.
No. I mean, I don't think. Just cut to the chase. Much of a difference between Arizona, the 49ers, and the Rams. I really don't. I mean, you could put them all in blank uniforms, put them out there. I don't think you would notice a big difference between any of them, quite honestly. I think they're average offensive line. Seattle's not any good. They're in the waste management conversation. But these other 3 teams, their offensive lines are average. They all have one player who maybe is exceptional, but other than that, they're all C average offensive lines. That's what they are.
All right, let's go to the other side of the ball. And speaking of big guys, we're going to stay on the big front. And again, this is where, and I think over the course of the last 10 years or so, this is where the NFC West has really separated themselves as a division as a whole. Great offensive lines and great defensive lines for the most part amongst the entire division there. But for me, it's San Francisco, Seattle, LA, and Arizona. Again, when you have a guy like Nick Bosa that's anchoring your defensive line, you're going to be really good. And the Niners, with Robert Saleh coming back, they drafted a lot to that offensive line. Michael Williams looks like he's going to be a perfect fit on the opposite end of Nick Bosa. They also brought in Bryce Huff from Philadelphia, who a lot of people are forgetting is there. But they have great depth, too, as well. Between Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, C.J. West, another rookie, Alfred Collins, Okinawa. I mean, the Niners' defensive line will again be a strength of theirs, and that's because of the way Robert Saleh coaches. I really do like Seattle's defensive line as well, with Reed and Murphy, Williams and Lawrence. I mean, that's a really, really tough group, and I know Lawrence is going to be grouped in more to the linebackers because it's a base 3-4, but I love Leonard Williams, and I think Byron Murphy is going to have a great year for them. Not very far behind. I would put the Rams with Fiske and Young and their group there. I think they lack a little bit of depth. And then the Cardinals. I mean, you look at the group on their line. Darius Robinson, we didn't see a ton of last year. Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell coming back. Jordan Birch, Walter Nolan. Nolan's dealing with some injury stuff, but I think the Rams and the Seahawks are very close, but I would give the edge to the Niners, T.
Yeah, I got the Niners here. This defense is the reason why they won as many games as they won last year. And even though everybody was injured, but this defense has been, for the better part of this decade, has been just a dominating force in the league. I love what they put together. I've got the exact same order as you. What do you think about that? I am interested. I am interested though in. I just lost my train of thought. Awesome. You know what? Maybe my brain does need a reboot. I'm interested to see what DeMarcus Lawrence has left with him for the Seahawks, and I like what the Cardinals are trying to do. But it's another one of those wait and see, and do I trust this team as much as I can throw them?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's an accurate description. Mac, D-lines, NFC West.
Everyone thought the Rams were going to fall apart after Aaron Donald retired, but listen, they didn't. I love the Rams defensive line. They got some really good value last year with their young players. So I have the Rams actually ranked as the top one. I have Arizona ranked in my number 2 spot, and I think it's more of a depth thing. Yeah, they don't have a Nick Bosa or anybody in there, but I think overall, I think that they've improved, and I think some of the guys they got, and I know, like Calais isn't going to, be an every down lineman anymore, but I think he's going to bring something. The Cardinals went into this offseason with a couple of, really big question marks, and this was one of them. Their D line was one of them, and they really tried through draft and through free agency to improve it. So I think they will, because I think you focus that much on something, you've got to get it right. So I'm actually putting the Cardinals in the 2nd spot. I'm putting the 49ers 3rd, and then our poor Seahawks 4th again. I put the 49ers 3rd. I of course you can't not like Bosa, but other than that, I mean, I know Salah's there, but he's not out making the tackles and making the plays, so we'll have to wait and see. But I don't really like the depth of the 49ers defensive line compared to, I think, the Rams or even the Cardinals.
All right, feel free to check in if you're watching along. Billy V just made his check in there. He thinks it's the Niners division to lose, but he likes the Rams to challenge the Niners. Let's go to the linebackers, and for me, this was a 0 question, 0 doubt about it. When you have the best middle linebacker in all of football, don't come after me because you're going to be wrong. In Fred Warner, the Niners at the number 1 spot, and I think this is where, and I kind of teased this earlier, that I'd have some very specific thoughts on the Niners here. A lot of people with the Niners lost numbers. They didn't lose production. And I think that's what needs to very much be put into proper context here. Yes, these guys that they lost, and specifically on the defensive side, and specifically in Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. And you're not going to find a person who is a bigger fan of Talanoa Hufanga's than me. That being said, Greenlaw and Hufanga couldn't stay on the field. Fred Warner is a heat-seeking missile that can do a lot of things that we haven't seen very many linebackers do. It's a group that also has D. Winters, Luke Gifford, Nick Martin was brought in. And remember here, Dre Greenlaw became the player that Dre Greenlaw became because of Robert Saleh. So when Nick Martin was drafted undersized and everybody's like, oh, that's your replacement for Dre Greenlaw. No, it's a collective group. And when you look at the depth of this group, I really think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And again, when 54 is out there's not a better middle linebacker in all of football. I look at the rest of the division. I like a lot of things in the rest of the division. All name team from the NFC West. Here we go from Seattle, Boye Mafe, another guy who's all over the field, does a lot of things for Seattle. And Ernest Jones, I thought was a nice pickup. Uchenna Nwosu, if he can stay healthy. Obviously, we know with the Rams, Jared Verse, but I don't know if I love the depth of the Rams linebackers. And then when we get to the Cardinals, you've got Mac Wilson, Zaven Collins, who has been a nice player, but I don't think has ever really lived up to what they thought he was going to be. I question the depth from the Cardinals linebackers as well. So for me, it's an easy 1 for the Niners, an easy 2 for the Seahawks, and then go ahead and fight for the bottom, LA and Arizona. T.
Holy smokes. It's wow. San Francisco for me, number 1, because Fred Warner, right? But I like the Rams second. I love Young. I think he's a great player. I love what Verse is doing as well. I went to that stinking Bills-Rams game last year, and it seemed like just when the Bills were about to kind of like maybe get back into the game, the defense got a big stop. And I was very impressed with how they shut down the Bills offense. I like I said, I like Young. I like Verse. It seemed like Young was almost in everything. It was crazy. Seattle and Arizona, I like the ad of Josh Sweat. I really do. I think he's going to be a good ad for Arizona. Seattle, fight for the bottom. It's a 4-team race, and yeah.
Vegas Mac, linebackers.
I mean, you're right. I mean, there's no argument here. I mean, it's the 49ers, and the other 3, have if we're playing horse, they have the W for waste management, written all over their uniforms. Listen, here's my thing. If the Rams and Arizona and Seattle, if the reason I feel this way, if the reason they missed the playoffs is going to be because of this, their linebackers are not good. That neither of these teams have really, really good depth or good linebackers, and I think that's a key. I mean, you're starting to see trends. NFL is all about, we know this. It's about a copycat league. And what are we starting to see? We're starting to see teams offensively go more to the middle of the field. That's what we're starting to see. Oh, hey, who plays in the middle of the field, bozos? The linebackers play in the middle of the field. So if your linebackers suck, your defense is going to suck. These 3 teams have sucky linebackers. You're not going to be good.
Sucky. There you go. Sucky. All right, let's finish up with the secondaries in this division. I think there's a lot of talent in this division in the secondaries, but for me, it's hands down at Seattle with what they have with Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Josh Jobe, and Devin Witherspoon, who is just going to keep getting better and better and better. I do like what the Cardinals have, and I think Will Johnson is going to be every bit worth the hype there. And when you've got a veteran mentor in your secondary in Budda Baker, that's a great spot. Max Melton was fantastic last year for the Cardinals. The Niners also, I mean, with Green, Brown, Mustafa, Lenore, and Stout, that's a stout group of secondary members there. And again, the secondary under Robert Saleh was another strength for the 49ers. The Rams I've got questions with. Cam Curl I thought was good last year. Cameron Kitchens was good last year. Akella Witherspoon, as I know very well, hot and cold on him. And Quentin Lake, who also played well in the nickel position for him last year. But I think it's definitely Seattle. And then I would say Arizona and San Francisco, probably a coin flip, but I would put the Rams kind of a distant 4th. T.
Yeah, Seattle's definitely up there. I love what Budda Baker brings to the Cardinals, though. I think he's probably I think he's the best free safety in the division. I think and the defense seems to start with him. As he goes, the rest of that defense goes. I'm interested to see when these teams beat up against each other, right? Because we've got great quarterbacks in this division, maybe except for Murray, and we'll see. The jury's out on Darnold for me. But it's a passing division, it seems like. right? The Rams aren't afraid to pass. We know that the Niners are going to throw the ball if they can. And then I don't know what's happening with the Seahawks offense, but it seems like they've retooled. These secondaries, they have to be good. They have to be good for your team to win. So as Max said, the linebackers have to be good or your team's going to suck. I think that secondary is equally important here because of the great quarterbacks that at least Purdy and Stafford that are in this division.
Mac, secondaries in the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just like for the 49ers, their linebackers are the better. I think Seattle, without a doubt, their best secondary. Other than that, I mean, I actually like the Rams. I think the Rams were maybe just a tad bit ahead of the 49ers just to get under your skin a little bit more. Probably that's why I said that more than anything else. Then Arizona, these secondaries, I think you're right, T, are going to have to play well because their linebackers all suck. So there is going to be a lot of. So yeah, there is going to be a little bit.
Max on so much fire, he's blowing his microphone right out.
I know, right? I think our first shirt, once we get the Mike Arana Show store up, is just going to say "sucky" on the front of it. Coaching in this division, I think, is pretty clear cut. I would give a slight edge to Sean McVay, and here's why: because he's got the one thing that Kyle Shanahan can't seem to get his hands on right now, and that's a Super Bowl trophy. But I don't think you can go wrong in either direction. I love Mike McDonald. I think he's going to be great in Seattle. It is going to take some time to continue to retool that roster and get his type of people in there. But remember, Mike McDonald was the guy behind the defense in Baltimore that made Brock Purdy look like absolute shit on Christmas Day a couple years ago. So it'll be interesting to see that opening game between the Niners and the Seahawks there. And I like Jonathan Gannon. I really do. One, because it's really easy to make the Pee Wee Herman lookalike jokes. But two, I think he's done a good job. The Cardinals were an absolute dumpster fire when he took them over. And I think we've seen them take some baby steps forward over the last couple of years. Again, I think the biggest question with the Cardinals is how much longer they're going to try and run this Kyler Murray experiment out in front of us. So I think this is a big year, not only obviously for Kyler Murray, as I've mentioned, but I think it's a big year for Jonathan Gannon to kind of show really how close this team can get to a playoff spot. But to do that, you're playing in a really tough division. So I would give a slight edge to Sean McVay. And when I say slight, I'm saying like they're the same coach. They're both elite. And McVay just happens to have a Lombardi and Kyle doesn't yet. So, T, coaches.
Well, and McVay decided he wanted to keep coaching when he could have walked away very easily a couple of seasons ago. But for me, San Francisco, and I've actually took a lean towards Shanahan just because of the Niners have been more consistent, in my opinion, than the Rams. The Rams seemed a little bit more up and down. I don't know if it's because McVay was trying to figure out what he wanted to do or what have you, or once he got the trophy, it seemed a little to back off a little bit, in my opinion. Seattle third, Arizona fourth. No shade toward Jonathan Gannon. You're right. He's done a lot of good things in 2 years. But yeah, now is the time where he has to make that another step. He's got to take that step. But I'm with you, Mike. I like what Seattle is doing. I think they seem to be retooling their team one aspect at a time, and I think that's going to be good for Seattle in the long run. I'm just not sure what's going to happen in 25.
Mac, NFC West coaches.
It's the 49ers without a doubt. I mean, their whole staff. I mean, it's just a great staff, and then you add, Robert Saleh to that. I mean, it just makes it that much better. I mean, I think the Rams are maybe a step and a half behind, and again, yeah. I mean, Seattle, Arizona, you got to prove something. I mean, good young coaches, good young staffs, but they have a lot to prove yet. So we got two teams with great coaching staffs, two with staffs that they're trying to figure it out. Let's just be honest.
I think it's a fair assessment there. All right, let's look at the schedule. Interesting stuff here. And for me, I actually, we tried to find a 4-game window. I cheated. I went a 5-game window here. I can because my name's on the marquee. But what I did here is Arizona and their schedule right out of the chute, weeks 1 to 5. They open at New Orleans, then they're home for Carolina. They're at San Francisco. They're home for Seattle on a Thursday night football game, and then they're home for Tennessee. If the Cardinals are going to do anything this year, especially in this division, trying to compete in this division, I think there is an opportunity there for the Cardinals to get out of the gates potentially at 4-1. Now, can the Cardinals get out of the gates at 4-1 and continue that going forward would be the big question there. But this is also a spot where they could get out of the gates and somehow in that 5-game stretch end up 2-3, which would be an absolute disaster going forward with the rest of their schedule. So I think the first 5 weeks for the Cardinals, I think you've got winnable games against New Orleans, Carolina, and Tennessee. You get Seattle coming to you on a short week, so that is a little bit of an advantage there. And the game at San Francisco, and they've shown over the last couple of years that they've been competitive when they've gone to San Francisco specifically. So I think there's an opportunity for the Cardinals to jump out of the gates, which I kind of feel like they absolutely have to this year with the layout of the schedule in the Division T.
I'm going with your Niners, weeks 5 through 9, and the reason why I went with 5 weeks here is they have the Thursday night game at the Zipper South, and then they have a little bit of a break, and then they go to Tampa, home for Atlanta, then at Houston, and then at the Giants. So you got 4 road games in about 23 days. You've got some travel in there. But that's going to be a time for me if I'm the Niners where that's where some separation can happen in this division, or you're going to be just in the middle of the pack. That's a tough stretch, though. I mean, the Giants are the Giants. They weren't great last year, but that's the 4th road game of that 5 set.
Yeah, it's the 4th road game of that 5 set, and it's on the shitty turf at MetLife Stadium, which has not been kind to the 49ers in the past. And if you look at a schedule for a team in the Niners who has the easiest schedule on paper because it's a last-place schedule because of how bad they were last year, that's probably the toughest stretch on that last-place schedule. So I do agree with you there. Mac, where's a schedule spot that you can see being beneficial or detrimental to somebody out west?
Got a little bit of a sandwich here with the Los Angeles Rams. An away game, 2 home games, an away game right in weeks 3 through 6. They go to Philly. That's never going to be easy. We know that. And then they're home to Indy and home to San Francisco. Again, home, but it's still San Francisco. We know that's going to be a tough game. And then they have to go back east again, out to Baltimore. So 2 trips back out east, 1 to Philly, 1 to Baltimore, the end of that sandwich. Indy's the easiest of those 4 games, but that's 3 of those 4 games. I mean, we're really looking at, Philly, San Francisco, and Baltimore. With Philly and Baltimore, we're talking about teams who are, Super Bowl contenders. That's a tough 4-game stretch.
Yeah, and Levi's South will be rocking for that Rams-Niners game, T. Look like you had something on your mind.
And, the Rams get San Francisco on that short week. So even though, what'd you say, the Colts, they have the Colts before that, or it doesn't matter because it's you got 3 days of prep for the 49ers. I mean, I know that they're probably prepping for them in the week before, but still, that's a tough call there. That's a tough
stretch.
Yeah. Niners at Rams on TJ's birthday. Yeah, no, I'm not going down there. I don't feel like fighting Rams fans because I'm wearing a Niner jersey, even though it's a home game for the Niners.
Yeah, 100% it is.
All right, let's look at some liquid locks as we get out of the way here. Just some programming notes. On Thursday, we'll be staying out west, but we'll be talking about the AFC West, another highly competitive division, a lot of new faces there. And again, a lunch hour on Friday at 11:30 on the West Coast with me and Mac. We'll talk a little golf. We'll get caught up on the baseball world as it goes into a big weekend here. We'll have some preseason games on the docket. A lot of fun stuff there as well. So liquid locks, time for some of our better bets in the division. I'll get us started with my 2 here, guys. It's for me, it's the Niners over 10.5 wins. I think you've got a team that should enter the season for the most part. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever other superstitions you have. Fairly healthy, fairly rested. This is a team that's played a lot of extra games over the last 3 or 4 years. Christian McCaffrey, the biggest key to that, looks like he's going to be at full go going into the season. And again, a last place schedule, so I think over 10.5 wins should be the minimum expectation in San Francisco. And then this one, kind of ironic because of what I said about Kyler Murray, but I couldn't believe this was this low when I saw it. Trey McBride over 4.5 touchdowns, I think is, to me, feels like it could be stealing money. Because let's say Kyler Murray doesn't play well for whatever reason and Jacoby Brissett gets in there. I think that increases the opportunity there. But if the Cardinals are going to have any success in getting Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball, it's going to be because Trey McBride is one of the more elite tight ends in the league. And to have his touchdown total that low, I think, is rather embarrassing and should be an easy steal of money. So Niners, 11 wins or more. Trey McBride, 5 touchdowns or more. TJ, give me some liquid locks out of the division.
I don't think we're going to wait nearly as long this year for Trey McBride's first touchdown as we did last year.
Yeah, right?
I think he's going to be a star in this league. I went with your boy George Kittle. I think I did 2 here. I did like a what I know he's going to do, and then a stretch goal. 1,000 yards receiving at plus 135. The stretch goal being 1,250 yards receiving at plus 550. I think Kittle's going to be a huge part of this of this offense again, and we also have the health of Ayuk. We have the health of that receiving core in general. Are they going to be able to stay healthy? But Kittle's been so reliable as a receiver. I love the way that he plays the game. And then I've got Walker from Seattle. I've got him over 1,000 rush yards at plus 175. And the reason that I took this is kind of what Mac was saying earlier, how I think Seattle's going to pound the ball here because of Darnold, to get pressure off of him, and because of this revamped receiving core. I think Walker's going to have a huge season this year. I know that his numbers weren't there last year or the year before, but I see him trending up.
Yeah, and if George Kittle reaches those totals, he's going to be a very happy dude, because that's going to move him second all time in San Francisco receiving history, to the only second to the GOAT, Jerry Rice, in both categories. I mean, that's how amazing George Kittle has done over his career as a receiver, let alone being the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Mac, the guy who we created liquid locks for because of his flowing locks of gold that are gleaming off of his head right there, give me some liquid locks out of the West.
Well, I'm going to see your 10.5 wins, Mike, and I'm going to raise you one. I'm saying San Francisco, in that crappy schedule that they got, over 11.5 wins. If you're going to go big, baby. I'm going 49ers over the 11.5. TJ, I'm seeing gonna pound it. And then I got 1,000 yards, over 10 touchdowns, pound it, book it, it's done.
The irony there is that his microphone, and again, I told you guys at the beginning of these training camp tours here, we are working on all 3 of our individual studios here and making some improvements. So the irony that he blew out his microphone, and then when, because me and T could hear it, I don't know if the audience out there could hear it, but then when his microphone comes on, it's pound it, and then his microphone goes off again and comes back on to him talking about pounding it more. So do whatever you want with that one.
He just booked that ticket to Pound Town for sure.
Like I said, AFC West on Thursday, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast, and then there will be a lunchtime hour again. Mac has a big announcement as far as it pertains to college football for us. That will be early at the ass crack of dawn on the West Coast on Thursday morning, about 8:30. 8:45 in the morning on the East Coast. Again, that is what pertains to us in college football going forward. So, again, Thursday we'll talk AFC West, lunch hour Friday, big announcement on our social channels at Mike Arana Show. On Mac's video on Thursday morning, Mike versus Mac tomorrow. I've also got some college football thoughts that I'll lay out there for you. So to everybody behind the scenes, to Vegas Mac, for TJ, for Vegas Mac, for TJ, what a disaster. Pound Town, baby. We'll talk to you later. We're out.